When someone we love dies, we're just left with this profound question, right? This deep-seated need to do something. We perform rituals, we hold memorials, we light candles, but in those quiet moments, we can't help but wonder, does any of this actually help them? Well, today we're going to delve into an ancient text that offers a surprisingly mathematical and deeply psychological answer to that very question.
I mean, this is the question that is echoed through all of human history, isn't it? Is it really possible for our deeds here in the world of the living to reach across that final boundary and bring some kind of comfort or aid to those who've passed on?
Look, I get it. For a lot of us, especially in our modern scientific world, these rituals can feel like wishful thinking. They're beautiful maybe, but ultimately just superstitions meant to comfort us. But what if that comfort isn't just a side effect? What if it's the entire point, engineered with an ancient wisdom we've sort of forgotten?
And that brings us to our first section, a question about death. See, to get to the secret behind these rituals, we have to start with that universal experience of loss, a time when our minds and hearts are just thrown into this state of profound confusion and pain.
Does any of this sound familiar? That feeling of being totally helpless, that nagging wish that you could turn back time and just do more? It's in this exact state that we search for a way to channel our love, to create some kind of meaningful tribute. But we also start to question if these traditional rituals really have any power.
So now, let's turn to an ancient formula. Because there's this foundational Buddhist text written over 1,000 years ago that provides an answer that is, well, it's startling in how precise it is. You got to think of it less like a mystical sermon and more like a spiritual equation.
We're talking about the Kṣitigarbha Sutra. Now, a sutra is basically a sacred teaching, but you really don't need to be a Buddhist to appreciate the incredible psychological insight that's packed in here. This particular text tackles our question head-on, not with some vague assurances, but with a specific formula.
And here it is. This is the core of the formula. The sutra says that when we do good things, like charity or acts of remembrance in the name of the person who's gone, the benefit isn't split 50-50, not even close. The math is incredibly specific. Only 1/7 of the benefit goes to the deceased. A full 6/7 stays with you, the living.
This completely flips our whole understanding of who these rituals are for. We think we're sending help out there, but this ancient text is telling us the vast majority of the benefit is actually happening right here, inside of us.
And this chart just illustrates the secret so perfectly. You see that tiny little slice? That represents the portion of the benefit that might reach the person who's passed. But look at that massive piece, the overwhelming majority. That is designed for the person performing the act. It's a system that's engineered for the survivor.
So the mind-blowing conclusion is this. The ancient wisdom isn't really about some magical intervention for the dead. It's actually a sophisticated psychological tool for the living. You could almost call it a technology for healing the profound wound of grief by giving us a constructive, positive path forward. Okay, so how does this ancient formula actually translate into modern psychological terms? Well, as we're about to see in this section on grief, guilt, and growth, the parallels are pretty astounding.
The ancient practice is called Chendo, which literally means guiding the path of the deceased. But when you look at it through that 6/7 formula, you realize it's a perfect parallel to what modern psychology calls grief work. The goal is exactly the same, to process the loss, to resolve all those feelings of guilt, and to find a way to move forward in a healthy, constructive way. Now, the sutra talks a lot about hells, and I know that might sound a little archaic, but think of them as powerful metaphors for our own internal states of suffering. The hell of addiction, the hell of unresolved trauma, the hell of deep depression or burnout. Grief itself can often feel like its own kind of hell, and these rites are like a map to get out.
And the text is crystal clear that our actions matter. It warns that doing harmful things is like adding more weight to someone who's already carrying a 100-pound load. The whole point of these practices is to lighten that load, both for our memory of the deceased and, most importantly, for ourselves.
So this all brings us to the ultimate empowering takeaway. If the primary benefit of all these acts is really for us, then how should we approach honoring the dead? This is the crucial point. It's a total transformation of intent. We shift our focus from this desperate plea of please save them to a powerful declaration. My better life is my tribute. The greatest honor we can possibly pay to someone we've lost is to live well, to grow,
and to become a better person simply because they were in our lives.
And just think about what this actually does. It takes that passive, crushing sorrow and turns it into an active, positive practice. It channels the chaotic energy of grief into our own ethical and personal growth. Your very actions become a living, breathing memorial. Your healing isn't selfish. It's the ultimate act of honor.
So in the end, this ancient wisdom reveals a really profound truth. The most powerful memorial isn't a statue or a ceremony, it's a life that's been transformed for the better. The question then isn't just how we remember the dead, but how their memory inspires us to live. What kind of living legacy will you build?